Hello, everybody. My name is Martin, and I'm trying to discuss with you today a Web3 and Metaverse overview, like a landscape, a map. And I'm super happy if you're giving me feedback on this draft, which is under Creative Commons. I'm super happy to share this with you back under those circumstances. And it's really important in this phase to give people, for example, managers in traditional companies, the possibility to have a better overview of the possibilities, the risks, the opportunities in Web3, what it's all about. And I try to contribute a little bit to the understanding and knowledge beside those hype articles in media and also the negative articles if the Bitcoin is going down. I think the universe here and the metaverse, especially in Web3, is much bigger and has much more gray shades to it. So it's easy to understand and talk about it when we look at it as a map. So super happy about your feedback on this. I talk you through. I made some layers that you see on the left side where I have like specific categories. And then I'm going from left to right in a little bit of chronological order to give you the possibility to say, okay, it's Web 1.0. Now it's Web 2.0 with more mobile usage of the internet, with, of course, more user generated content with the social media platforms, with the e-commerce and stuff like this. And we are migrating since a few years very slowly into Web3. And there's the first statement from my side. It's not like Web3 is the new internet. It's the technology that is deriving from Web 2.0, and it's a collective term, I would say, for a lot of layers and a lot of categories. So if we start with the infrastructure, I think a lot of you would agree if we say that currently we have the internet as the basis, the internet meaning domain name services, ICANN orientated internet addresses based on IP, with the subservices of www, and of course with the subservice of FTP and HTML. So everything that we know from the current 2D internet, might it be fixed or mobile? Okay. And we see that a lot of applications in the Web3 domain are still running, obviously, on the internet. And for example, the internet is nicely connected with wallets, so to say, to the decentralized applications where we can log in. And not everything in Web3 and Metaverse, obviously, is based on the blockchain technology, where there are more than one blockchains, obviously, and so it will be also in the future that we are like starting or connecting with the internet protocol and going into the blockchain protocols and systems. And I find it very interestingly that we have, of course, Ethereum name service for domains in the Web3, which is very important. I think there will be a strong interlink in the future to be findable not only with the hashtags, but with like a domain, a real name, and this will help a lot in the future, I think. When we go from the infrastructure layer to the transactional layer, we have all the transactions that I even didn't write here in the current world that we understand when we buy something on Amazon, for example. But we are going, of course, additionally into the possibilities of having our goods digitalized or having digitized goods that are non-fungible. So they are like one, and they are more real, and they are not like in the Web 2.0 copable. You cannot make a copy out of it. So they are very dedicated non-fungible tokens, and they're a very strong asset of the transaction layer. And obviously, when you're trading an NFT or giving out or airdropping it, then of course all those conditions are based on the smart contract, which itself is then written into the blockchain. And there's this transparency that you're having about the rights and the possibilities attributed, for example, to a non-fungible token, but of course also to fungible tokens like cryptocurrencies and other tokens. And again, those wallets, I think, for the transaction are really the home of everything that we have. And in contradiction to the Web 2.0, it's in the Web 3, the wallets are more like your own, and you're owning the data, and you're starting your journeys and your logins from the wallets in all of the services in Web 3. If we're going then to the platforms, obviously we have the big platforms. I didn't name all of them, but they're very dominant, and they built over the last 20 years oligopoly in the internet, in the Web 2.0 era, and they're very high in cash and in liquidity, of course, and they are trying to be also the platforms of the new era, of the Web3 era, and just like having Facebook renaming itself and investing highly in Meta, and Google and Apple going into the production and design of glasses, and so on and so forth. I think this is the route, so to say, to the right side, to the newer side. But of course, they are not alone there. Meta has, of course, the Horizon worlds, but there are new platforms like all the neo brokers that are doing a lot of those cryptocurrencies. We have, as I would call it, and it's not perfect calling it so, but OpenSea as the Amazon of the Web3, where we have our NFTs, our digital goods, our skins, our tradable assets, obviously. We have the Binance, we have the cryptocurrency trading platforms, or as a competitor to OpenSea, I would say we have the super rare, probably going more into music, into arts, and collectibles. All right, so there we have the platform area. I think it's very, very interesting how this will turn out, because there's so much cash in that, and so many transactions are based on the new infrastructures, that we will see a lot of fight here. But we will talk about the power patterns a little bit later. Let's move on up to the human interface layer, where of course we are used to use the internet on our smartphones. Very good. Just in the last years, I would say, starting with Siri, starting with navigation, starting with Amazon, very much going into voice, obviously, as a pattern of steering and controlling the internet, and giving commands, and getting information out of the internet. And now we are already now entered, of course, augmented reality, virtual reality, and then also, of course, a combination, the mixed reality situations, where we are working, so to say, in a 3D mode, where we are having much more possibilities. And whoever is using one of those smart glasses, I think, is fully understanding the immersiveness that we are getting in the Web3, especially when we are entering the metaverses. And I see a small typo here. Sorry for that. And of course, as we are in these new rooms and worlds, we want to have avatars, we want to skin them, we want to dress them, we want to have digital goods, we want to make journeys with them. And maybe it's also a little bit of digital twins, the discussion that we're already having currently in the Web 2.0, with having like copies of our environments or new worlds, obviously. But we are interacting in this sense with these characters that we're having there. And the next steps are already on the horizon, where we say, okay, when we have mixed reality, we want to also have tactile feedback. When we're like high-fiving in the metaverse, we want to feel it on the palm. There are also readable emotional patterns when you're watching somebody with a smart glass. We know that, and smelling would be something even as one further next step. And we know that engineers, research is going into that direction to make this human interface even more immersive. Let's step up one more layer when we're going to applications or metaverses. So when we apply all the infrastructure or all the possibilities that we discussed about, I think we are, well, since years we are so strong in video games. This is such a huge industry, and since ages, Unreal Engine is one of those elements is very well used in the Web3 as well, where we're just rendering easily and going into 3D. And just in the last years, all of those games and free games that are in worlds where we can move freely on one end to the other, I think they are very popular. And so all people playing video games are, again, much closer to the thought of metaverses, obviously, as persons that did not enter those rooms. We have applications, just like we know applications also from the Web 2.0, but they are decentralized applications, and we log in with the wallets, as we said. And in a lot of those applications, we need something like AI. I'm a little bit conservative, and I say it's okay, it's algorithms and machine learning. And obviously, when we look into deep fake situations like Tom Cruise, for example, and avatar building, we all need this high computer power, self-learning powers of computers to help us generate those worlds. And yes, then there are those metaverses. So there you also see my distinguishing between Web3 as an overall collective term for everything that we're talking about, and then as a smaller sub uh, amount of that, the metaverses like Decentraland, obviously, Sand, CryptoVoxels, Horizons World, you name them. There are a few outs and more to come, and there will be a consolidation over time. But this is typically for the evolvement of this layer of applications. And then on the organizational level, this is not so much discussed, but it will turn out very important when we're talking about the powers in the future in the Web3. I think there will be, and are currently, metaverses and Web3 instances that are centralized or centrally steered by corporates that we know, like Meta or HTC with their smart glasses, obviously also having a little of a universe of an organization there in the world. And then NVIDIA obviously want to build their own organization or metaverse, the Omniverse. And then we have, from an organizational standpoint, I think we have those not so much tied to known corporates, but new corporates, so to say, that are building those organizations. And some, of course, like Fortnite and others, are coming from very traditional corporates, but they're building an organization of their own where people and communities are working together, living together, buying parcels, or building whole cities and interacting. And the other side is just to be announced at the current at the time of this recording. So we are seeing new players that are trying to build some organizers, but not all of them are decentralized autonomous organizations. And this is actually why I built this layer, because I want to point out that a few of them are really tokenized, are very Web3 democratic builds and organizations where when you have the token, when you bought it or you earned it, then you have the right to vote and to lead this organization on a very equal way with all the other members of the DAO. And I think this will be a very strong watch point for all of us, where we are also shaping industries newly and economies where, for example, people in Axie Affinity, for example, are really earning money out of the games and using this for their lives and for charity. All right. And then, of course, talking about money, the businesses, and we have those 10 top digital business models, obviously, that are running the last 20 years of internet business. I have a specific topic on that on my website that you can look at. It's from subscription to platform, to ecosystems, use don't own, experience business models, down to free and freemium, all those things that currently are at your hand when you are using the current services from Netflix to Amazon, obviously. But there are new ones in the Web3 business. And I think when we look at collecting things, when we look at mining in the blockchain, when we look at how people spend money for skins, how we are engaged in play to earn games, and when we are trading with cryptocurrencies or with NFTs, when we're doing new ways of this distributing our art, our music, our videos, then you see that there are new business models out there. They're currently forming, and it's very important for traditional companies, obviously, to look how those business models are evolving, because they might be the revenue streams of the next years, additional to the traditional business. And there is huge money in it, as we know, and VCs are, and also institutional investors are going in strongly, and we have all the large B2C brands having a Web3 strategy, going into the metaverses to be present for their consumers, customers, and collaborating with the communities. It's a very new era, but it's all based on the traditional thought of earning money. So this at least is not distinguishing between Web 2.0 and Web 3. So once again, thank you very much for checking this with me in this early stage. And as you see, again, it's Creative Commons. You can use it at that stage under the circumstances and terms that are laid out on this page. And I'm super happy if you are giving me feedback on martingiesswein.com or any other channels. You can find me. Google already knows me. And you can always find me also in Web3. My domain is martin3.eth. So I'm here, and I'm super happy to discuss this ongoingly as we're trying to get the best value out of metaverses and Web3. Thank you.